at least one, I think, knock plus a flush afterwards. Having a really good hold in that position with Alter Ego also getting in the mix with 2TK. I think that honestly, you look at that and you just think it's a dying battle. I think Vampire Esports thought their position was a lot better than it was, but I think it was just because so many of these teams cornered themselves down towards La Bandita, which is why we saw so many fall so instantly as soon as this circle moves up this way. Influence came in, pick up that position that Little Boy's been holding for quite some time over towards that northeast as a regroup, and they may need to send it down towards Alpha 7 spot. Buradam as well as Influence came in, both are looking to take shots towards Alpha 7 and maybe get a knock or two, in which case they can take up the mantle of that really good spot in the circle.
9 eliminations now for 4 Angry Men already. 3 of their players still active in the fight. 2 teams right now, 3 teams, sorry, with 4 alive. Inco, Alpha 7, Influence Kemen. All the Brazilian teams are still very much in this one, but Order may be looking to change that one. Federal close by to danger, but has backup across the way. Shots landing really effectively, and there's the nade. Excellent 1-2 punch from the Influence Kemen squad. They've been playing with strength on this northern side and will continue to do so. Paraboy now looking to try and get across that road, get across that ridge line as Order flushed out, his teammate taken away. 4 Angry Men moving into another Brazilian stronghold here against Inco this time around. Vitali opens up the bidding, a good Xiao falls first. WWX is a second casualty in the engagement, and Ching Chen now looking to trade nades around the corner. Vitali has other ideas. A nade towards the back goes a little bit long. Molotov around the wall stops a fallback from Ching Chen, forces him into the fight, and excellently executed. Inco. Beautiful hold.
I mean, 2023, the year of Brazil, man. I'm telling you, these guys are on the upward battle, the upward path towards the stairway to heaven. And honestly, I'm really so incredibly happy about Brazil and the Brazilian teams and what they've done this past year and what I think they will do this next year as well. Influence Kemen, I think they've come in and kind of revitalized A7 in a way, because I think that A7 was sort of cruising a little bit. Then suddenly Influence Kemen comes out of nowhere and it's like, there's another kid on the block. And Alpha 7's like, right, we can't have this. We're going to have to really go into hyperdrive. And again, Inco, the little brother, starting to make their way up the rankings as well. Looks good. I think with a little bit more time, maybe coaching, analysts, Inco could be a really, really good team. They do have extreme potential. Taking down 4AM like that is not easy.
And when you've got stars like Nenebete coming through on that little brother Inco team, it's no wonder. Say little brother, currently second place on the overall tables. 4 eliminations on this game. Brilliant, brilliant stuff from the largest country in South America. They have certainly made their mark and are continuing to do so here in Jakarta. Nova on the northern side, playing with 2 now.
Yeah, still going. I think that's the main thing. But again, only 5 points so far for Nova. It's not ideal as defending champions. It's kind of the day where you would like to get a big bump up in terms of points potential. That last day looked a little bit easier. Again, for Nova, certainly anything is possible. They have pulled things out the bag before. I would not be surprised to see a 100-point day be pulled out from a top hat on day 3. That is just something that might happen. Again, though, it would be very, very difficult. Inco. Still on this western side, still doing work. Paraboy steps up, finds at least 1 there though. Good stuff. Nenebete's down. Arguably the key player over on Inco.
Will be felled, actually stolen away there by Buradam. Across the way, Vitali looking to light up Jimmy, will be able to do so. It's Scry to chime into it as well as Jimmy goes down outside the shack. Currently held by Stalwart up the top, but Paraboy will fall to the play zone. And that's going to leave Nova out. 5 teams now remaining. Influence Kemen on that northern side. 3 players left alive. Alpha 7, all 4 of them going. Inco 3 as well. Buradam looking to try and keep themselves together, but they are 1 against the Brazilian 3.
It is going to be difficult now for Buradam to keep their cool going forward. Coming into the last zone before we do enclose this one completely. Right now, Buradam, Tiger, Kenzo, Sky Only, very good at holding down the battlefield. Sky Only is this player that's always been so manipulative of a lot of players within the circle itself.
Buradam playing with 3 shots, really tearing into Influence Kemin now as Inco have turned their attention their way just that little bit. For 8 eliminations now as Influence Kemin will fall that northern side. It gave them a lot of points there, but 4th place, 8 eliminations, great stuff. Inco is really the big news here. They started this game on 2nd place. They have 3 players alive and a really great chance here as well on Miramar.
Yeah, they were sent away by Nova. And again, this is the Nitro boost. This is where they click the green button and get going. Alpha 7 looking to stop that one. A Winnie in the hands of Mythic. They have not moved too far away from that position before. Becca, Squash, Vitali still up. Nenebete, that key player, not on his feet though. But again, Vitali was able to put in some really good work on that last game as a start opponent for them. Sky Only tries to spray down the guys from A7, but they're making a good move here. Gaining ground, actually.
Terrain play really on point for Alpha 7 with 4 players alive. That is the most of any. Buram absolutely blindsided there to a nice little spray coming through from Squash. Buram cut down to just 2 active. Mythic spotted, but hits the deck with a Winnie. Wants to tear a head or 2 off shoulder, but have to wait and see for the opportunity. Carrillo being sprayed out towards Tiger as they go across the open field in the buggy, but Carrillo steps up for Alpha 7.
Goodness me!
Lit up and Buram full. That's going to be 2 teams now remaining. Alpha 7 still in it with 4 as Inco take 3 into the final fight.
Mythic down, really bad news. That off angle was so important for them. Now Carrillo tries to get himself back up into action, but already Inco is making the right moves, destroying all the vehicles, preventing them from pushing any further towards the circle. They already have the sensor here, a very good ridge to play around, and Carrillo split off from his team. On the other hand, Inco's in a great spot to finish this one out strong. And yeah, little brother might be getting his own back here.
Mythic very unlikely to get rezzed in this scenario. This is the final zone and it will close all the way to the center. There is potential for them to roll out towards Mythic. There is that little ridge line in front of him that can be played as cover. But the time really not on your side, and do you want to invest the smokes at this stage?
I mean, yes, it's last zone. 100% would. That is
That's
definitely
fair.
what I would do.
Do they have any left?
Yes. No. Yes. No.
That's Inco.
There's a stun grenade. Most of them already been popped out.
Looks like that way. Carrillo does make a push really far
That's
forward
bold.
into Squash's crosshairs. That's not going to work out. Unfortunately, there's not even a trade to be seen. Now 2 players active for Alpha 7. 4 eliminations on the game. Mafioso and Revo now with it all to do for the squad. Inco, they took 2nd in the first match of today. They're looking to try and put up that 1st place here on Miramar. Alpha 7, arguably specialists here on Miramar though. So even with a duo, they are certainly a force to be feared. Mafioso goes down. In the meantime, Revo now last standing for Alpha 7, and it's not long for it. It is Inco to step up yet again, and what a start to their tournament. 2nd place followed by a chicken dinner.
We wanted to know if they still had that power to take on the biggest teams within the lobby. And look, they pulled out the Nitro boost at the end, but this time they've attached spikes to the front of the car, and they send that one flying directly into the chicken dinner. They'll pick that one up, they'll take it with them. And that is a very good game there from Inco. Even again, losing Nenebete, being able to play with Squash, Vitali, Becca. These players really have leveled up their game from League play into PMGC Grand Finals, and that is something that's wonderful to see. And it was great news to see that early, because a lot of these teams have got to be scared now. Got to be scared of Inco, because it's like, look, we took down their MVP. We took down their best player, and regardless of that, they're still able to pull out some big numbers, some big games. And I think for Inco, they have found that teamwork, that synergy that they were desperately looking after.
Vitali was brutal in that game as well, getting 6 eliminations on the cards for the squad. Really solid performance. Did so much work against those teams who tried to move in central.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, again, this is a case of getting sent back by Nova early on. Yeah, of course, that does suck. That sucks. Almost losing a player as well off the back of it. So you pull back, you pull away, you reevaluate the situation. I think they didn't want to head down towards La Bendita. They noticed there wasn't a lot of players coming across the fielded area early on. So they thought, look, so many players must be down that southwest edge according to the actual playing path at the beginning, which went southwest up to northeast. So a very smart play from them to just kind of hover in that location. and it wasn't that compounded play that they went for. They kind of just went for those ridges, those little dips that they could play in, those ditches, and then really brought out everything they could in that last moment, because they were guns blazing.
They absolutely blasted on through. A great result for Brazil as a region. Well, I say as a region, as a country in that South American region. A triple result. Birju could not stand up to the test of the of those South Americans.
I think Sky Only just wasn't prepared for the amount of firepower that's coming back his way. I think Sky Only's used to, you know, stepping up, hitting some shots, and laying back down again.
Well, Inco making statements here, making big moves. And what a time to do it at the PMGC.
Welcome back to the desk, and if that wasn't an exciting game, I don't know what is. We have Brazil, 3 of the 3 teams inside the top 4. Now 7, if you're not smiling all over your face, I don't know when you are.
It usually takes a little bit longer for me to say this, but I think this is the perfect time to say this, Max. Do Brasil! Inco Gaming, 25 total points, 10 elims, and then you have Birju United Esports. You know, for them to be able to put up 18 points, they definitely needed those points. But Alpha 7 continuing on a good performance, being able to get 16 points, Influence Champion as well, 16 points for them. Those teams from Brazil, and this is without Sandhawk too. I can't wait to see what they're going to be doing.
It's going to be real hype. You know, I do like normally during PMGC Grand Finals, I was going to call you Alpha 7. That's how like close you are tied to them. I like having now a little bit of rivalry on which team to look at. But really, I have to say, like, your pick of Brazil, this event has been just great so far. And Vitali, 2 MVP in the only 2 games so far in these Grand Finals. This guy's been clutch. He cleared out 4 AM in that game too. Like, this guy is on an absolute tear at the very start of these finals.
It is. In the first game, I thought maybe it was because they had the circle, but I feel like in this one, they were able to showcase it a little bit more of the actual talent that they're currently having. And I mean, for him to be able to get 6 eliminations out of 662 damage, that is so great to see. And it's impressive because before this PMGC Grand Final started, we were all talking about Nenebet to this, Nenebet to that. Guess what? Now you're going to have to include Vitali because now that's back-to-back 6 elimination games.
Exactly. I mean, a new player when it comes to this stage here, 7, he's been looking so good. And no, Birju, a team that had a little bit of a tougher time, right? Because they had to escape those field of positions. A lot of teams already were in strong positions inside that field finish. Did make it a little bit rough for them. Still, I would say, a strong approach, but the circle made it just a little bit rough to play at the end.
And for 4 Angry Man, Chin, I mean, for him to be able to get 4 elims, this was a team that didn't actually perform that well in the first match. A great bounce back.
Exactly. I mean, I think it was Vampire that was struggling to leave, and like they made sure Vampire were not leaving that position. Playing the edge of Bandita in that position, you just get so much information, can get such, information to make the next rotation.
Yes.
Unless you go into Vitali, which is what happened.
Now, a team I quickly want to touch on was 4 AM, which for the first time now, obviously the first game didn't really go that way. First time, scored some actual, like, impactful points.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, right, that high ground position on La Bandita gets them the information, but especially, you know that La Bandita is where, in the circle, when it moves away and it's a late game circle, it's hard to escape from that position. They knew that, so they really tried to play that position to their strength.
Perfect. Before we go into a quick break, let's quickly take a moment and thank our sponsors once again. And first up, that is obviously, you can already see everyone just pointing at it because, I mean, there's a reason for it. Look, it's beautiful. It's honestly beautiful. Like the backside of it,
disappear.
wait until you see the front side.
It will?
Yeah.
It will disappear?
Oh, yeah.
Are you taking it?
I might take it home by mistake.
Wait.
Security.
What is that over there? What is that?
Where is it?
I don't know. Oh, it's
Either
gone!
way, let me tell you something about this beautiful thing.
Go Brazil!
Xperia 1 Mark IV and Xperia Stream were co-developed, and I'm not kidding, in collaboration with professional esports players. And you can play PUBG Mobile with Xperia Stream's total cooling system and multiple ports for intense gaming and streaming. If you want to share your favorite clips, your highlight reels, please share them with Xperia Stream. Also, Prime Gaming, thank you so much for helping out and supporting this tournament, Pmgc 2022. It's been an absolute blast so far. We're just getting started. With Prime Gaming, you can get free in-game content. You pretty much do anything with it, right? There's plenty of free games as well, and the coolest thing about it is, obviously, we're playing PUBG Mobile here. You can get free PUBG Mobile content, free PUBG Mobile skins, in-game stuff as well. So make sure to check out Prime Gaming. And lastly, I want to thank the PBESI as well, which is the Indonesian Esports Association, the local one. Thank you so much for supporting this event as well. It's, yeah, we're glad to have you on board. We're glad to have you on board. One more thing for you guys at home. We have a survey going on right now. Some of you have already seen it, some of you haven't. And for the ones that haven't, make sure to check out the links in the chat and of course also the links on social media. You will find a link to a feedback survey, and this is gonna help us massively in terms of improving the show. You can write whatever you want in there. It's, as I said, it's pretty easy to understand. Click on the link and you'll find out what it is about. And by doing that, that's the best part, you may get a chance to win some prizes. Ooh. And obviously at that point, thank you all in advance yeah, for sharing your feedback via the survey. And with that being said, we are going into a quick break. I gotta get my phone back at some point. We're going into a quick break. See you in just a couple of minutes.
Popping bottles in the ice. Like a blizzard. Then we drink it till we're right. Getting blizzards. Am I right? Like 3-6.
Welcome back after this short break. Brazil is turning up in PMGC 2022, and not only one of the Brazil teams, almost all of them.
Yes.
Yup.
You want me to go? No,
Every time I like Brazil, I'm like, I'm just going to shut up and just let him talk.
I'll let you do it this time. What do you want to say? You know what? Actually, never mind. Inco Gaming. Can we talk about them, please? Vitaly, I know we talked about them earlier, but like I feel like that after 2 matches, that is the biggest surprise for me. What Vitaly's being able to do.
Boys, first time playing at this level too. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa, okay, you got teams like, your 4AMs was fan, you got yourself your Novas, you got so many teams that are already been able to play and perform at this level, and yet he's just like, easy peasy, mate. PMGC, small event.
What's crazy too is this team has only been together for 5 months, and they're at the PMGC Grand Finals. It's wild.
Let's take a look at some of the overall rankings we have. This is the actual standings after match number 2. So going into match number 3. Inco Gaming is at the very top with 47 total points. I was about to say 27. Well, no, 47 total points. Alpha 7 is just 1 spot down. In between there is obviously DRS Gaming with 29 points on DRS on 31. That is... Are you surprised so far? I know you are on 7, but Max, is there any team that potentially sticks out to you?
I mean, I think that also we got to keep in mind 2 games is going to be very
Yes.
volatile. We're going to see a lot of changes, but I would not have expected this leaderboard at the start, especially seeing like DRS get himself a chicken dinner, which is always good to see. But the thing is, a lot of the top contenders we were expecting to do well. Currently on the second page here, 7, your Vampire Esports, your Nova, your IC, even the side of Fireflux Esports and Wolves and Geek Fam. Like so many teams, actually almost all the teams that I just almost said every single name on this page. It's like, it feels a bit weird, right?
I might get hated off for this, but I'm okay with seeing Nova in the second page because of what we usually talk about. I mean, we do have Sandhawk coming up, as you can see on your screen. They tend to start slow sometimes, and it's okay. It's okay for them to be in the second page as long as tomorrow they actually show up, and they usually tend to show up, right? At least that's what we've been able to see from them in the past. Now, another team that we did end up seeing on the second page that I actually want to talk about, it's Wolves. I feel like they are underperforming, even though, yeah, you said it's 2 matches, it can be very volatile, but this is not what we expected of Wolves, and I'm starting to wonder if it's maybe them not being able to play on those group stages, them not being able to have that extra information or being able to know what some of the other teams are going to be doing.
Yeah, I don't want to get any hate for this, but the only thing I remember of Wolves doing so far in these 2 games is when they needed their own teammate. I'm sorry, okay, but that's what I remember right now. So we need to see a little bit of a step up. But once again, we said we've got a lot of question marks around this team. The first time for them playing outside of their region.
Yeah.
Just got to give them a little bit of time. I'm sure we'll see Wolves, step up eventually.
How many games do you give them?
How many games do we have? No. I would say after day 1, we'll see more things happening in day 2, day 3.
Oh, 6 games, okay.
Let's take a look at some of the teams. And then we have teams to watch. Maxman is going to go with... Ooh. Have you picked that team today?
Which one?
Buriram United. Have you picked that already?
I
don't think it
not
is. I think it's the
think
first
I
pick.
have.
Because you've been talking about them for yesterday, for almost the whole day. And Inco and 4AM as well. So this time around, at least we have a lot of picks that are not not the same. And for you, 7, I want to talk about one specific team we haven't really talked about so far, which is like Stalwart.
Yes. Now,
Can't
I'm
elaborate.
actually surprised you haven't picked them, and I think I have an idea why you haven't picked them.
You know why.
It's because you don't want to curse them, which I'm completely fine with. The reason why I picked them is because this is a team that usually tends to drop on boot camp. And since it is Sandhawk, and we only honestly play just once a day, there tends to be a little bit of hot drop. So I'm interested to see if anybody's going to maybe hot drop them.
Wasn't it Alpha 7 that did it? I'm just saying, it's going to be interesting.
I did notice we both picked Inco Gaming. Okay, all right.
I gave up. But okay, Brazil. Okay, I'll pick Brazil.
What's your reasoning behind 4 Angry Men?
Behind 4 Angry Men, I think that the foothold they had around La Bandita, that we mentioned a little bit before that break, was really interesting. And I think that, first game, just a little bit silent. It's just one game, right? It happens. But that game, they were just like really reading that circle down to almost perfection. Sure, Inco were just, Vitaly was just a bit too strong at that moment. But I would say the macro play was strong. I want to see that potentially result in a chicken dinner. If they do it again, it could happen.
Yep, it could very well happen. So, teams to watch. With that being said, any straight up prediction in terms of Brazil? I want to get really quickly back to that topic. Is that going to continue? Because that is pretty much the region to watch right now. We have sad teams to watch, but teams to watch. Is that going to happen? Quick yes or no answer. Is that going to continue for today?
Yeah.
Yes and yes. And with that being said, we're going over to John Allen and Black. Take it away, boys.
Well, no matter what happens, I'm sure it'll be plenty of excitement here on Sandhawk.
No, honestly, Sandhawk is always a very, very fun map, very interesting map, and a very quick map. So this could be really one of those maps where anyone can take the prize here. If you're slick with it, if you're fast with it, obviously Inco's very quick at getting towards that center circle, but it's very available to move around this area of the map quite quickly. So whatever we see, you know, it could be a little bit more difficult. Specifically with a confluence finish, right? For a team like Inco, there's no dedicated center to that circle.
No, it's a little bit more tricky to make that sort of call, and often you can really kind of get scuppered by that shift if it comes in too late, or if you've made the wrong call. I say wrong call. If you've made the unfortunate
the executive call,
the executive call to go to the place where the circle didn't end up going.
For sure, for sure. And I think that's what makes it very difficult. So this is kind of sometimes a toss-up. Sometimes it is just, I would say this game doesn't really, it favors more the fraggers than it does the IGLs a lot of times. I think you still have to have a very good IGL, but you also need to have those very good fraggers on the team if you want to perform and get those massive points available to you.
Teams loading on up. Good spirits in the S2G camp. Good to see, good to see. They've put in a bit of a shift so far today, so they can be happy with themselves. It's good to see that they keep themselves loose. That's what you want to see, especially on Sandhawk, right? You just talked about it. You do want to be a little bit more geared up for taking those fights, and the best way to do that is to stay loose.
Absolutely. If you don't have that pressure that's bearing down, and if you still feel like, you know, this is still first day, there's only really been 2 matches, these things can happen. We could be towards the bottom, but we could easily get a 30-point game and be towards that top on this 3rd match alone. So I think for some of these teams, it does become quite easy and quite quick to head towards the top of the table. Specifically for one of the better teams in the lobby that just hasn't been able to prove themselves or show what you've got yet.
Bathed in green, the stage leads us in to the jungle. Sandhawk will be match number 3 here of 18 in the grand finals. North side plane, all the way up from Mong Nai down towards Bantai on the south side. Again, fairly even cuts. Behind plane path so far. They have been getting it done for us. That Northwestern Island a little bit further removed from anything else, but they will be just fine to be able to get on over there.
It's been easy enough so far for a lot of these teams. I don't think anyone's really had too many struggles when it comes to drop spots. I think the only one that was really quite difficult was that plane path over on their angle, but even then, there was the capability, the fact that the circle only went fairly central anyway, so most teams could find the position they wanted on the map fairly quickly afterwards. And I think other than that, yeah, it's been happy. I think it's been a very, very fair day, and maybe it's going to take Sandhawk to break that tradition.
Influence came in close by to Alter Egos, who are in turn a little bit in the mix of it with Vampire on that northwestern island. Big wide split for Buradam on the southeast side. DRS and SUMIT. Wolves taking refuge between them and Geek Fam a little bit further north towards Ruins.
4 AM towards Camp Brava. This is another fair circle, I would say. I think this is a very, very fair circle. This is on probably the one island that is super calm, super chill. You know, you can even take docks rotations up towards that northern side. For anyone who's over towards the northwest, again, there's swimming positions to get in. And because there's so much of the circle still available, you can play around Quarry, saddle your way around the side, and maybe find yourself in towards a position where no one's really playing. So I think for most of the teams here, this is happy days. And Inco, you know, may just be able to find themselves into a good position on the map quite quickly here, John.
See how fast they can get there. Probably quite important to be able to get there speedily, especially given their current location. They want to cross that river, but Buradam might be in their way. Might be able to catch a player off, though, on that flip side, so could be good either way. Teams on the northwestern island also looking for their route of egress. You talked about having docks rotations, so potential for them to swing all the way out in those boats. Have to wait and see, though. Time will tell. We're still very early doors.
Very early doors in the waiting for stage 2 to pop. Inco 47 points, DRS at 31. Not bad a performance from DRS, honestly. You look at the count so far, and 31 is a good clear 10 points ahead of where, you know, a steady performance would be. So I think for DRS and A7, both doing very well. Inco, on the other hand, has just absolutely blasted out of control at the moment. So very, very well done for them. 47 points. Almost 25-point average, which is really, really impressive here.
Alpha 7 in Lakawi on the eastern side, looking to try and grab some vehicles and get on out of there. A little bit more central potentially to try and keep things going, but still very slow and no early engagements here on Sandhook, and potentially one of the wildest of maps.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. For PMGC, most teams, most players are going to want to take this one smoothly, take it easily. Don't want anything too excessive happening during these games so far. IHC, we're looking for something big, looking for something good. Didn't come to bear though, 9 points. Almost that 4.5 point average. Fortunately for them, not being able to bring things up. I think they did have a good start to the day, but just weren't able to translate that across very well. Alter Egos, I think there's a lot of support here from the crowd, but currently only 3 points found. I do think they've been making the right moves though, and I think that as a team just coming in here to play with the big boys, I don't think they look out of place here. I think they still have made a marvelous amount of good work, some good rotations, some good positions around the map, and it is just a case of PMGC being very difficult. And again, Alter Egos could step up later today.
Certainly still plenty of opportunity. We've only seen 2 matches played all the way through. We'll be looking for a couple more today. 4 more to still be slated on the cards. There's Alter Egos taking the fight with Influence Kemen, one of the Brazilian teams who have been showing up here so far today. Another couple of shots landing, but no knocks just yet either way. The first scrap over towards the northwestern side of things. Law taken very, very low behind the rock. The forwards position found for Influence Kemen. Lil Boy on the off angle, absolutely lovely, sneaky little angle to be able to find the opening knock in the engagement. Law able to heal up as well, and now Influence Kemen can start to marshal their forces properly. Potato close, isolated as well from the...
Come to bear against a very, very difficult team to play against, Influence Kemen. I think they've been making some very intelligent moves, and the right moves as well, and I think it's only a matter of time before we see Influence Kemen towards that top side with a bunch of points found on a game. Chicken dinner almost certainly during this tournament. Looking at some of these rotations though, Vampire Esports heading over towards Tab Mock. T2K already found their way towards Camp Bravo. 4am though, I think that Max is 100% right in the sense that, they really did leverage a very good position over Miramar, able to get themselves a lot of points in terms of eliminations. I think if they can play out that similar kind of thing, it just kind of shows how good they are in the lobby, how fantastic they have been in terms of hitting those shots, taking teams to task.
Beautiful shots there, spray down from Squash. They'll be able to open up on towards Buradam. Vitali, though, did get taken down in the meantime, and certainly a powerful player in that previous Miramar game. Looking to try and keep themselves alive, keep themselves going on the south side. And a reposition comes through. Nenabete picks Vitali back up, and they're up to 4 once more.
Again, this was going to be the typical rotation we talked about earlier. The docks rotation for Inco, they made it fairly quickly. This time not opting to go towards the central position of the map, instead taking their time with it, heading towards docks, try and remove Buradam. I don't think they're afraid to take these fights anymore. Currently, they do have some players in position to take shots, but this is going to be a difficult play for both these teams going forward. And again, with this circle that heads further towards the east, Buradam and Inco both have some strong positions to enter.
A lot of those central teams. Inco still with their sights set on My Name P. On foot, spotted out by Squash, but not given the angles, just sneaking away from him. Finally able to open up the cannons. We'll be able to get 1, 2, 3, and there's the last you need. They get the knock, but a lot of damage sent back towards Squash. It does result in a flush over towards Buradam, but still maybe a little bit more untidy than you would have liked for the side of Inco. However, they will maintain their lead at the top by quite the significant margin.
Yeah, not a problem for them. Buradam gets away though up towards 4am. We know how good 4am can be when it comes to holding out teams. That's what we talked about earlier. Alpha 7 with a central spot. Maybe looking to find themselves a win here. Brazil really looking on fire today on day 1 of the PMGC 2022 Grand Finals. Really nice to see it. And again, I've been saying it the entire year. I think this is the year where we start to see a lot of regions no longer becoming, you know, just dead weights in the water. We see so many different teams, so many different players all performing really well now.
Except for North America.
Well, don't say that, that's mean. But also...
Look at a 7 over there.
Yeah.
No, even to be fair, even North America have had their moments. And we can't really talk coming from the UK. We haven't had the greatest of success.
We don't have anyone from the UK, so we are get here in the first place. Again, there's been some great storylines throughout the entirety of the group stages. Some teams really pushing it to the absolute limit to get towards this position, knocking out teams that maybe everyone thought would be in the grand finals right at that last second. And I think, you know, one of those teams is Inco, and the fact that they've been able to come in today swinging is really nice because, you know, it's a team that knocked out Titans, HVP. You were like, maybe that last game was somewhat lucky, and also the fact that they had the exact amount of eliminations that they needed, and they had to perform here in the grand final, so it wasn't just, you know, a lost cause, and they have. So again, you respect the fact that they have been training in the background to get to this point, to get to this level where they perform on the grand final stage.
YHC have spotted Ravenclaw, Godless. Wants to line it up, opens, but Ravenclaw immediately repositions. Two players not quite able to get that team spray down. And Vampire now aware of the position to their threat on their western side. Godless looking in through those doors, peeking in, but not really taking any challenges just yet. Both teams on that northern side will start to skirt down that coast as quick as they decide to. Fireflux in the midst of it, amongst the central cluster on the northern side of things, with S2G out to their northern edge. 5th place right now for S2G, 19 points. They've had some good runs so far today. I feel like this is a team that most teams should be worried about.
Yeah, I think Fireflux too, but they really haven't shown us that big amount of firepower as of yet. Those team fights that we expect from Fireflux, I think playing on the edge at the moment isn't really helping them very much. There's a lot of these teams are already dead center on a central type gameplay. So I think for them heading in from the edge, already so many positions within the circle are taken up. So very, very, very frequently we are seeing Fireflux immediately get taken down. So this time around, they are hovering towards that line on the circle, which I think is a much better idea. It's still technically edge, but it's not what they were doing before, which was right on the edge of the blue instead.
Wolves, again, not the best of days so far. 1 point total, and they've just lost 3 of their players. Only Memory now left standing in Inco. To be fair, I think this is the second time that they've taken the fight with this team and been able to win it on out. Really good result for them. Order up the top as well, spotted by Stalwart. As Nenebete cruises on through with the auto shotgun. Memory on the menu now. Needs to keep it together.
Oh
and
my.
Will be able to do so. Nenebete shuts that one down faster than anything. 16th place, and Wolves drop down to the bottom of the tables.
I mean, Seven was saying they need to pick something up, and so was Max, in fact, and they just really haven't. I think for Wolves, that adaptation is not coming through as of yet.
Ooh. Paraboy looking to light them up here against Stalwart. Scry makes it across, and Paraboy just wants to slow things down in the smoke train there. Scry forced to reposition, forced to get up. And the nade's not quite finding it. Looking to be able to get a heal through as well. Has to reposition. Can't quite find the respite he was looking for. The rest of Stalwart fall back and do manage to get their full heals off. Action now across the way. Scry finally knocked, as Action now can be that linchpin, that forward position for them, but needs to leverage properly. Action half HP. Fireflux aren't too far away. Potential to third party in the engagement, but the nades from Action need to be on point. He's only got one, however, as King has fallen for Nova in the back. Needs to hold this line on the wall. Paraboy will spot the player crawling out, and Action shut down.
Paraboy predicted that entire rotation coming through from Stalwart. He even looks for another. Really, really on the money there was Paraboy. Not a single movement or tactic was missed from him. Keeping the rest of his boys in check there. It's over towards that western side. I think for Stalwart it's going to be incredibly difficult now for them to be able to get through. There it is, they're out 15th.
17 points so far on the day. So close in on their halfway mark for their matches that they will have played on the first day of proceedings. Buradam, they started on this eastern side near Lakawi. They've shunted a little bit further down towards Kampong, and now they're guarding out DRS, who have tried to swim all the way through from docks. And it's really not going their way. Killer flushed out. Kengzo picks up a point. Delta at the back. Rules really close to this cliff face now. I don't know if Kengzo knows about this player forwards, but might have a little bit of an inkling in a minute or two when he doesn't see any more of DRS towards the back. And you can see he's already scouting that one. Paraboy spotted. Fireflux are into this fight. I said they were close by to the engagement, and now they're starting to look to pick it up, but that's actually Geekfam to steal that one away. You can see them just a little bit further away on the top of that hill, on the back foot there. And Nova caught between Fireflux and Geekfam. It's really, really sticky here. Order falls, and now it's just Jimmy remaining with the Tommy gun.
Indeed it is. Jimmy from Nova looking for a little bit more here. Obviously, Fireflux play a little bit further towards this edge side, towards the circle itself. They found themselves in position, and that's Nova out. 4 eliminations so far found.
That is not quite the performance they were looking for, but Geekfam 5 eliminations now on the game. All 4 of them alive. They can turn their attention to Fireflux. DRS are out. That's the second place team on the overall standings right now. And Alpha 7 with a chance to leapfrog. They are currently tied with DRS, and the chicken dinner is the tiebreaker between them. To try and open up a little bit of a lead against them as they perform further into this game. Ketch, the forward position for Fireflux in the engagement with Geekfam, has been knocked. And Solus, in the meantime, by Yuhai, spotted out and dispatched. Solke, another casualty now in the engagement as Alpha 7 chime in.
Alpha 7 looking really good on this match to take some big numbers home for themselves. 2 eliminations so far. S2G above them. This is the difficulty, though. This is a strong team from Turkey looking to leapfrog, take over this position. Inco biding their time down towards that southern side, and it's the east edge that looks absolutely treacherous, dangerous as anything. Buradam, 4am, T2K, Vampire Esports and IHC still battling out for a position on this edge.
Schweppes cuts down Demo as he tries to leave the beach. Will not be able to go any further as he picks up the point for it. Vampire surviving with 1 now. Just Schweppes, but the blue zone is there. T2K not having a successful cross. Schweppes may be a position that is unknown for the rest of the teams further into the circle. See if he can get a little bit further, but T2K might be on the lookout for him. Geekfam take a knock as they start to move in towards this next part of the circle, but Alpha 7's position is nigh on unassailable, Blank.
Yeah, this is the walls that will just slow you down. A lot of this is going to be fighting more against the compound than it is fighting against Alpha 7. That's the difficulty. Inco, though, will send themselves directly into this engagement. Carrillo, Mafioso, all looking up towards that northern side. And Inco, just a quick rotate, a quick scout, get the bearings, find out what's going on. And I think right now, though, Alpha 7 is completely preoccupied with that northern side.
Go to move on through. It's all swings and roundabouts. It's all impacting top 8 for them.
Geek, it's going to be unlikely they'll be taken down, but at least 1 is found there.
Pops on through, and 2 for Revo. A double knock over towards Inco. You said they weren't paying attention to the south. Maybe they don't need to now, because Revo's on the job. Absolutely blasts them to pieces. And now it's a 1-2 Brazil table with Alpha 7. Rigo eliminated, 8th place now.
Vitali, that is the last take him off that kind of streak. I remember getting him the 4K grenade over in the group stage in that last chance that just sent them right straight through to the grand finals. Compound, Geekfam, S2G, T2K, Inco, 4am all have a very, very difficult road ahead of them, but it all ends in Alpha 7.
Geekfam with 10 eliminations so far. Going into his up if you can get him in the circle.
Actually get up there. Barivo's already sent the God nade over towards this position before they do it again. Micah wants nothing to be in the back. This is really good.
S2G as Silas gets spotted, but there's an AWM in play. It sees Hamzy and claps him, but unfortunately it's just not enough. There's not that many barrels on it. There's only the 1, and Alpha circle.
Alpha 7 not taking any chances here. They know they wanted a big game. to compete with Inco, but Inco already find themselves up towards that top 6 is really still good news, and 5 eliminations found for themselves. Still going well. Alpha 7 on the other hand, 8 eliminations, 4 alive, almost certainly a chicken dinner. Getting a few more eliminations on this game would be great to send them towards that top standing.
Certainly would. At the start of the game, the gap was 18 points between Alpha 7 and Inco. So they would need a whole heap more, but you got to start somewhere. A nade in from Inco. 6th place 5 games they've had. Alpha 7 in.
GeekFam, Yuhai and Micah, 49 292 points together with the rest of their team. This is the dream.
Cemented onto Sandhawk circles. The damage is too great to out-heal, which is why we've only got 3 teams remaining now in Zone 8. 4 Angry Men under pressure. GeekFam going down as well. Alpha 7 start to ramp up for their final shout. 3rd place with 11 eliminations for the Malaysian squad. GeekFam are doing so well in this Sandhawk game, and they definitely needed it. However, Alpha 7, the bell of the ball now. 2 players up and kicking as they flush out 1 and find another knock over towards 4 Angry Men. Just Svan left standing between them and the chicken dinner with 13 eliminations. They snap it on up, and it's a Brazilian back-to-back.
That seemed absolutely easy there for them. Really well done to Alpha 7. I mean, they picked up a very strong compound. The circle kept coming over towards them. Revo was very quick to deal with the competition in Inco that came up from the south side. I said they were paying way too much attention over towards S2G, but Revo quite quickly and simply dealt with the threat from the south. And I think for Alpha 7, that from there, it was just a case of clearing out those players on each and every single side. Obviously, this is a team that's extremely serious. This is what they expect to put up. This is what the kind of numbers that they want to see during these games. And I think for them, this should see them now in 1st place, just about. With Inco maybe still holding on to it with that result they had. But again, we'll find out over on the desk later.
It will be very close, actually. I think the points will be fairly similar. I don't think there was an 18-point differential between those 2 teams, but it is still going to be a nice little chunk taken out of it. Either way, we will see that Brazilian 1-2 position on those tables, which the region is going to be extremely happy about. The only way I think Alpha 7 weren't going to win that is if Inco somehow decided, you know what, we're just going to go all the way in right now.
Yeah.
But that would have been a bad decision for Inco to make, given the information they had.
It would have been very hard as well. I mean, they were delayed so long by Buddadam, as well as some of the other teams over on that coastal side like 4 AM. So for Inco, there was a lot going on in terms of researching around that area. What could they do? Where could they go? And I'm now casting to the beat of the drum behind me, which is fine. I'm okay with that.
S2G keep up the pace a little bit as well. They did manage to stay alive for fairly long into the game. 4 Angry Men getting a lot done in that match to boot. A nice little turn up for them. GeekFam 10 eliminations.
I'm vibing right now. I'm having a great time. This is so good. I'm so happy. This is what you want to see. The crowd is absolutely popping. At least one side of the crowd's popping. We like that side of the crowd the most. I think we need some more energy from the rest of the crowd. They can't hear me though, but you know I'm sending psychic vibes. You know, to raise the beat. You know, drop the beat.
The flags, the passion, the power of the crowd, seemingly spurring on Brazil somehow.
Yeah.
Other side of the world.
They're like, no, you will not cheer for your home team.
You're cheering fast, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
They just want to stop the cheering as badly as possible. They're making this look rough. They're doing it with cruelty, with grace. I'm loving to see it from the Brazilian teams at the moment. All look very strong, and I think they kind of perfected this central play style now. They all look very strong at it. It is influenced Kemin, though. He's feeling a little bit like that wild card from Brazil. I sort of expected them to be in a position where Inco or Alpha 7 would be.
However, we have only seen 3 matches so far, and there is still a little bit of time for them to start to step up, to gather that momentum, to carry on forwards. But for now, it's all Alpha 7.
I was asking you two, you beautiful analysts, is there going to be domination continuously throughout this day from Brazil? And it has happened. Look at this. Alpha 7 takes home a massive game, 29 total points, and that especially is in a fashion that was, I want to say, I was so impressed by how they controlled that compound, how they swamped out of it as well, took control of both sides, and pretty much disrupted the play of everyone else. Was a masterclass to some degree.
I'm not going to lie, I would love to be able to say Do Brasil all day, every day. I'm scared my voice will not keep up. I wish I was John Allen. I really hope I had those vocal cords, Seven. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But it is Brazil all the way right now.
They're performing so well. And I mean, I got to give some credit to Geek Fam. Geek Fam being able to get 12 eliminations.
Yes.
The aggressiveness that we saw out of this team, especially with Sandhawk. And this is something that, if we go back, we were kind of talking about it too, saying how some teams can actually use Sandhawk to break off that bad stretch that they were having in those first two matches. I feel like Geek Fam was kind of falling within that, right? They weren't really where they probably wanted to be. And for them to be able to do that after Sandhawk, that's going to be massive. And they were also able to take on Nova and beat them.
Yeah, not only Nova, there was also Fireflux. Like, they were making sure, okay, if you're on the western side, we want to have we want to be the only team having that high ground position, getting that information from the high ground position. If you're next to us, you're not going to be a neighbor for long. You're going to get that, the exit letter pretty damn soon. So really strong performance from Alpha 7. Once again, they got second place and a chicken dinner back-to-back. They're looking good. I understand why they're one of your favorites now. I get it.
Okay. It's pretty interesting. You were just talking about the western side of things. And I mean, the original fight that started that whole skirmish on the western side, that was Nova against like Stalwart, wasn't it? And that was a completely interesting fight because I just want to highlight a specific player, Parastreet, and he held that super important eastern flank play. I'm not sure who it was from like Stalwart, but he got that frag, and I think that kind of really solidified their position on the western side. And I was really rooting for them to, capitalize on towards it, but they didn't in the end, did they? It was Fireflux that came in as well.
Yeah, but with me, I actually want to talk about Godlike Stalwart a little bit. I feel like they are underperforming in a big way.
Agree.
I know you haven't been picking them because you don't want to curse them, but I think it might actually help them out a little bit, Max. I think we might end up working on a reverse curse here if you actually end up picking them. This is not the Godlike Stalwart that I expected to see. I feel like they are being a little bit passive. Yeah, they did go into that push, right, into Nova. It didn't end up working out for them. I'm just not happy with their current performance.
I would have to disagree a little bit. I don't think it's them being not aggressive enough. I just have the impression the way they approach the fights is a little bit all over the place, and of course that does come off as being not aggressive, even though they're trying, but it's not the best way to get in every single circle. Like here, you're taking a fight versus Nova, there are 4 players across the road, you're crossing like one by one, you're giving it almost to Nova for free to some extent. So I do want to see just some better setups from them. We know they can do better. Unfortunately, it's a 3-day event. Don't have much time to get the impact, so we need to start to see some results right now after we hit the 50% mark of day 1.
You guys were talking about Fireflux. You guys were talking about at least one of the Turkiya teams, S2G. They have been quiet, but they have been consistent. I would like to see a little bit more eliminations out of them, but they have put themselves now, as you can see here in the overall ranking, in 5th place. Alpha 7 now jumping up and getting that first place, 58 points. Inco Gaming there with a 56, and 4 Angry Men with the stretch that they currently have with 2 great games, 2 games with actually a lot of eliminations going for them. Push themselves up to 3rd place, Max.
Yeah, pushing up onto Inco's position too. They're like, hey, we know that position is good. We're going to full send it. We're going to be careful if there's a DBS in play for Nenebete, but 4am, that's one hell of a comeback here.
Yeah, but talking about Inco for a second here as well, I really expected them to have actually have a better shot at winning this game originally, looking at the first 2-3 circles than A7 even, because they were coming in from the pretty much from the clearest side there is. They were coming in from the southern side, and they took one out from Buriram, I remember. And at that point, I thought, wow, if they are fast on their rotates, they pretty much have got the best control of the southern side, and really can, capitalize on towards that. But they didn't really, unfortunately. And in the end, the zone kind of shifted towards the northern side as well.
I really like their position. The thing is that 4am, once again, being so opportunistic. They were like, this is a great position. The circle's not coming their way. We're going to try and defend it. But on the lower side, still Nova not able to climb their way up here.
I know, I said I wasn't surprised to see them there. I kind of want to see them at least in 8th place. It's just so, it makes me so uncomfortable seeing Nova in that second page, even though I know that they have the potential to just come tomorrow and end up pushing themselves possibly all the way up to top 3. It's just not settling to see them there. And something that I also wanted to point out there within that overall ranking with what I was talking about was S2G. Only 9 eliminations. I feel like their fragging power has to start showing now, because that's just not going to be able to cut it. Yeah, you might be able to be consistent in regards to placement, but the eliminations are just not consistent for me.
Well, I don't know if you agree, Alex. I would like to see another region than Brazil get himself a chance.
Whoa, whoa.
I'm not saying I don't want
Yes.
Brazil to do well. I want to see
No, I
just
agree.
other regions. Especially, and I mentioned this to you, Seven, a lot of times, I want to see Thailand win. Right? We've got Nepal win, we've got stuff for Brazil win. I want to see a Nepali, Thailand chicken dinner coming out eventually here. I want to see a Buridam win. That'll be a good one to come up.
I want to see an Indonesia win.
Yes.
And I want to see an Indonesia win
I'm with you on that one.
because of how hype the crowd is.
There's no game happening and they're still cheering. that's to tell you.
They're not even only cheering, they're beating their drums. They are screaming, dancing as well. I saw some people dancing over there, which is, I kind of just want to shout out to them. If you ever see the stream, shout out to you guys. I mean, I love what you're doing over there.
Why would they be watching the stream that they're like, oh, I'm watching the stream?
No,
We're also
maybe
gonna be
one
around.
day. Who
You'll be
knows?
surprised. There'll be that one guy that just wants to be on YouTube chat.
Got to support the viewership. Let's go.
Coming back to who actually won that game, because we have only barely touched on A7, and I feel like we've not done them enough justice on the stats so far. A7, how they controlled that compound, how they controlled everything around that compound especially. What stood out to you the most, and maybe was there anything particularly looking forward for? Because, for example, something that I have noticed, Carrillo, after the game, he did not look happy at all. He was, I think he was devastated that he got flushed there in the end, and it did not seem like he was in a good mood.
I gotta say, I appreciate the pronunciation. Carrillo. Hey,
Carrillo.
A roll that R pretty well.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that Carrillo sure unfortunately got taken out a little bit early in the game. But the way they control that trifecta compound, 2-1-1 split, making sure no team had the opportunity to take that compound away, that was the key play from them. They know so well how to play those specific areas to make sure that if a team breaches them, they will be ready to defend that spot.
I felt like the main one for me was Revo with that nade, that amazing nade on Inco Gaming. As Inco Gaming was thinking about maybe making a push towards them, Revo was like, hold up a minute.
Wait a minute.
Something ain't right here. He threw the nade and ended up knocking 2 of their players, and I felt like at that point, Alpha 7 being comfortable. And going back to what you were saying there with Carrillo, I feel like that's how he always looks.
That's just how he always looks. Is that just his resting
it's just
face?
like,
This is Carrillo happy.
Well,
it's like,
quickly, coming back to your teams to watch. Maybe you know what? Just pick one and tell me maybe the reason for it. Actually, no. I want to hear your reasoning behind AE. Is that something you actually feel like? Is that just more like you want to see it?
it's because
It's
of
more
this.
like we want.
Okay, it's more.
It's those guys over there. I blame these
understand.
guys.
I understand.
I
Well,
mean, this is how hyped they are with them going out in what with it 15th
I'm kind of
position.
shocked, am I?
Yeah.
Imagine how hyped they'll be when they get a chicken dinner.
man.
That's gonna be epic.
I'm actually intrigued by your T2K.
TGK, you know what? I want to pick every team at least once. I don't really have a specific reasoning.
Professional analyst.
Check.
Just like those are done. I think I got like 11 teams to go. We'll get there. we'll hit the
Okay,
ratio.
if that's the case, I picked DRS because of how well they did early on in the first Erangel. I want to see if maybe it was a one-off for DRS or if they can actually duplicate that.
Oh, back to Wrangle. True,
yeah.
What's your team to watch? You don't-
My team to watch.
It's always us. you
Yes,
know?
I know.
What about you?
Okay. My team to watch. Look, you hate me for saying Paraboy in the show match, but I kind of want to say A7 here as well now. I know it's obvious, but I kind of do feel that way.
Alpha 7. Okay, we're friends. We're friends.
Yeah, I
we're
know.
great
I kinda wanna
friends.
go with that.
Let's go, baby.
But no, seriously, I mean, I said it before the tournament as well. I don't know if you guys remember, but I said if A7 gets off to a good start, I know they've got the individual power. I know they've got the will. I know they got plenty of support back home as well, and also here in the stadium.
Yeah.
And they are the kind of team I expect to. I know I also said I don't have complete, insight into how that team works dynamically between the players, but I felt like they're the ones that really just thrive on good results. They thrive on enthusiasm. They are the ones that thrive on confidence, as opposed to, for example, Nova. They're just always good.
Yep.
With that being said, oh, look at this. We have them, just now that we're talking about them, we actually have them in the picture as well. Either way, we do have the next match coming up in just under 2 minutes, and with that, we are heading over to the casters. John Allen in black.
We are getting into match number 4, back over to Erangel. We've had our Sanhok, we've had our fun blank. Now we've got to get serious.
What do you mean? Sanhok is very serious. It's serious business, actually. But yeah, I think I'd completely agree with Alex. I think that, when you look at a team like Alpha 7, they are massively momentum-based. I think this is a team that once they get rolling on the tracks, very hard to derail this train. So I think they're going to continue going at this type of speed, chugging away, getting those points. Inco, doesn't really bother me too much. I think that they're almost sorting out this problem that they had before, which is, you know, they get a couple of good matches at the start of the day, and then things start to taper off a little bit. That's the typical Inco play, but I think what we see now is those 2 good matches and then consistent results, right? That's the big kicker, and it's very difficult to catch a team like that who puts up 2 very good performances and then is just 10 points, 10 points, 10 points, 10 points. You can't really profit over the top of that if the team continues that way, because you're waiting for the opportunity, really. If you're a team underneath them, you're waiting for the opportunity where, yeah, you can get a great game and get some consistent points, but they're forever ahead of you. It becomes a real slog.
For teams that are looking to place in the top, you're looking at around about from a 12 to a 15-point average. That's what you're going to be looking for over these 18-game sets. And if you're able to hit 10 points as an average on your bad games, in quotes, right, your bad games, absolutely you're going to have the firepower to be able to blast out and put those 5 extra per game on your really good ones.
Absolutely. So we are now halfway through the day, I would say. I think, you know, obviously the show match, 7 matches to play today, but 6 of those are the only ones that count towards the PMGC. 3,000 was taken home by Fireflux earlier for the 1v1 show matches. However, now going forward, we're going to be looking at the remainder, you know, the meat and potatoes now. Erangel, Miramar, Erangel. This is where you're going to be able to pick up a lot of those consistent points we were talking about before. Hopefully, some of those teams towards the bottom can maybe change things up, because right now we're having a very top-heavy lobby in terms of points.
So Snovka military base plane all the way up towards Kameshki for match number 4 to kick things off. Nobody really dropping on C block so far in the games today, but it looks like that might change as Vampire out very, very early, but there's a team to join them as well. Sat there, it's going to be Geek Fam going to be dropping out early as well. We've seen Novo occupied once or twice, but there could be a little bit of argy-bargy as Stalwart are out over it as well.
Again, very similar playing path to the start of the day, as you're saying. A fair few teams heading down towards Sosnovka. This could be a bit of a difficulty, John. I think you already mentioned this, and I think that, you know, if they can take 2 sides of Sosnovka, is absolutely fine. It looks like Geek Fam, Vampire obviously heading towards Primos. That's their usual spot. Stalwart down towards Novo. Very typical spot there for Stalwart. Very happy to move either over the Western Bridge or over the Eastern Bridge. This works out very, very nicely for them. Fair few times. And IHC, who had, well, looked pretty good at the start of the day, honestly. They looked fairly clean with it, but then they started to fall off a little bit, you know? It's really only been a soak in the rain since then.
Keeping themselves from being mucky as they're going to have to go forwards into this Western Circle. Pretty hard shift here, Blank, at the start of things. Certainly going to be a competition to be able to get out to that west side.
Absolutely. And they want to win that competition. No awards yet, though. Only the competition. Only the competition here to get through over towards that western side. Massive clump of teams over on the eastern side. I think this is where it becomes a little bit more difficult, because there is a lot of these difficult rotates over towards Rozhok, down towards Ruins. It becomes complicated. There's a few hurdles you'll have to pass. And a lot of these teams become hurdles in of themselves, and leaping over them isn't going to be as easy as before. Has he got some height on him?
Nanabete looking to get a little bit of height here against Godless. A shotgun and a pistol in the arsenal here. Godless is left a little bit isolated, but the rest of the team may be looking to provide some backup. We'll have to wait and see how that one turns on out. The Sharks are swirling. T2K have got their own scrap to be dealing with. A really nice pickup there, and timely too for the shotgun. Able to load it on up as well. Looks to unload 1, 2, a third and a fourth, but it's not going to be good enough to find the knocks. Fortunately though, T2K have got a team, and they will be pushing forwards with Legend seemingly unarmed in this scenario. Not too sure what you were going to do on the off angle there. Lutz is coming on through as we head back over to Godless with IHC in on the ground floor. Things are really popping off. And 2 sides of the map here, some really cheeky little hot drops. That's what happens when you have early circles on a hard shift. In comes the backup from IHC now. A squash on the ground floor taken low. Godless held out for long enough in the meantime as Nenebete goes up to the top floor and will be able to get the flush. Losing a teammate, not quite just yet. Nenebete still with the auto shotgun. Playing around the side, looks for the reload as well and manages to get the magazine back into the breach. Turns the corner and shut down by Ziol. Flush goes through as well and IHC claim the building.
Squash left, down and low. IHC looking for a little bit more. Unfortunately, it will be Vitali and Becker left to continue. Lutz, though, we always say this guy is an absolute specialist when it comes to long-range shooting. He's the sniper of the team, but even if you put that revolver in his hands, you know, I was feeling Weston, I was feeling Clint Eastwood. The hay bale started to just pass through. He was blasting. It was very fun to watch. I enjoy that. Don't often see someone be effective with the revolver. He put his little tan cap on, jumped off the horse, his spurs jingling as he took down the players over on T2K.
This buggy ain't big enough for the both of us.
This vehicle definitely isn't. That's for sure. Now Fireflux kind of have to just send away. Soulless. Very low. Turkey on turkey action here. I mean, I had that at Christmas, but we're having it here over at PMGC 2.
I only had a chicken.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, only 4 meat eaters at my Christmas.
Shame.
Only four.
Shame.
It only had to feed 4.
Shame.
There's no point in having a turkey.
Shame.
Unless you have to feed more
Look,
people.
I was actually saying, you know, why don't we just have a chicken this year? But then I thought to myself, you know, it's
I would
tradition.
like to eat turkey for 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I made curry, sandwich,
That's pretty good.
2 chicken dinners.
Oh.
Yeah.
Out of turkey.
Well, no.
How'd you do that?
No.
That's wow.
I'm thinking about
impressive.
punching. I took 1 turkey.
I took 1 turkey.
I got 2 chickens.
That's how it works, right? You put 2 chickens together and you get a turkey.
Yeah,
Or is it
absolutely.
3 chickens together and you get a turkey.
3 chickens together, you get a turkey. But yeah, so that was good. It was good times. I mean, I was meant to go see my parents, you see, but that didn't happen. So then I was like, well, I've got a lot of turkey left. I'm gonna go for round 2.
He's turking.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the game. No more turkey shenanigans.
Oh.
No more shaming you.
Tell that to S2G.
Well, I know, because these guys are looking for a little bit more right now. I think for S2G, it's gone quite well, this game, so far. Good amount of work done. I think that they're keeping up pace. You know, it's this top 5 that we're kind of looking at, but I'm almost sneaking in there in 6th place, 27 points. That's good. That's great news. GeekFam also, I think we looked at this team and we're like, oh, well, they're not performing amazingly. They're not performing super powerfully. However, if you look at them, 23 points in 7th place is pretty good.
Chelsea will be shut down there, spotted and taken apart. IHC have been pretty brutal so far in this game. They managed to pull one off of I think they got one of Inco, maybe a couple more actually, by the looks of their elimination tally there. Inco down to 1 player, picking off another from S2G just then. T2K have suffered, but I think they're in a different area entirely. That's over in the northern side, with just Rig remaining in Severny. They'll have to move down south further. Alpha 7 now in the lead with 58 points total. Just the 1 ahead of Inco, but with 4 players alive, their potential in this game is going to be a lot higher moving forwards. Alpha 7 currently moving on the eastern side, just north of Farm, redistributing, grabbing a new vehicle. Doesn't have the fuel to get all the way to where he wants to go on this time around. DRS ahead of Alpha 7, and a little bit further to the south, they'll be playing closer to the coastline as they go for that central area.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a little bit tough. Again, going through DRS, as well as the guys from Stalwart. That is not an easy crossing, is it, John? Honestly.
It's not.
These 2 teams proven themselves. DRS fallen off a little bit. No L plus ratio as of yet. So we're kind of even right now. I think they're still winning. Still looking good. 4th place.
It's a 1-to-1 right now.
I do think that 4AM is kind of like a surprise pick, but Maxman. The Maxi Man, right?
Maxi move.
He always trusted in the 4AM.
He did.
I respected that. I liked that from him.
Respectable.
You know, he knew that this is going to be the comeback from this team.
Smart.
And again, we were talking about at the beginning of the day, it was a shame not to see them in 2021 because they did so well in 2020, right? 2022, 4 a.m. is back, and I'm happy to see it. Third place, though Inco and A7 would not have. Well, actually, A7, yes. Inco probably further down for me, honestly, and I think that the current performance of 56 is kind of ridiculous. Again, only one player remaining now, so potentially falling off the leaderboard just a little bit, but it's going to be difficult for some teams beneath them to catch up towards that 56.
Circle back to the mainland, keeps the land on in, so we're not going to have a weird crunch on proceedings. Not just yet. Geek Fam on 4 alive. Still early doors on the game. 56 players remaining. 2 teams, though, down to 1 player, which is quite significant. Those hot drops really punishing so far into the game. Central locations, again, occupied by Wolves, by Nova as well. And are returning to the center as well for the Alter Egos.
I think for Alter Ego, currently 4 points so far. It's not amazing, but again, you look at Alter Ego, you look at Fireflux, again, 2 very good teams. And I think that with 4 points, it's not really indicative of where they can go, where they've come from. I still think there's good potential, good chance these teams to really step things back up again. Alpha 7, however, 58 points and looking to streak out further now is great news. I think this is, again, they're a momentum-based team with 3 matches still left to go, John. This could be easily A7 finishing the day on 100 points.
If they can keep it going. That is that question, though, because if you're a momentum team, it kind of bites both ways, right? Because, sure, when you get going, it's great. Inco go down, it's good news for them for opening a lead. But if you struggle to gain that momentum back when you lose it, that is equally just as punishing and can be the other side of that coin.
Absolutely. I think there's a I think right now, on that momentum point, I think Alpha 7 will continue like this for the rest of the day. Or at least get some decent, consistent points. If they can push that 100-point mark, that would be ideal, because that's really what you want to do with this momentum right now. You want to take that velocity and send it straight towards those high placements, because if tomorrow, like you say, John, we do have that fall from grades for Alpha 7, they need that big buffer. That is what you have to consider when you're a momentum team. But I think for Alpha 7, at a grand final, it's going to be really hard to take that away from them coming into day 2.
Influence Kemen moving to the compound south of Everest. Fireflux have a challenge of their own, and it's IHC who have been fairly punishing to the teams they've come across so far. 4 eliminations this game. Solk forwards, position against Demo, burns the ridgeline away and forces him to the right. Nades pouring in from Ketch as well to really do the damage, and Demo does dive down into the ditch. Alex sailing on past, can't really do too much about it. Ziol into the building, Solus ready with the nade, looking to cook it up. Drops it down low and actually into the gap between the buildings to stop any sort of push. Alex on through as well, forces Solus out the back, who's cooking a nade himself, wants to post that one back in through the window. DBS around the corner, does so much work and finds a second as well. Oh, Ziol through the window, Solus claims it. Excellent hold.
6 elims now. All we're talking about, saying that Fireflux could easily bring this one back around right now. With that kind of position, over towards the northwest side and an easy enough rotate downwards. Fireflux has a good chance now. Wolves versus Alter Egos, though. Picking them apart slowly but surely, and 4 AM also getting involved on the action. Really unfortunate for Alter Ego. They had a very nice central spot, now down to just 2 players.
IHC were on for a decent game there as well, but they did fall to Fireflux. Not good. IHC kind of needed that one to keep themselves in the conversation. Inside of the Gatka compounds, Nova find themselves a nice little stronghold on the south side of the next circle, but they are close to Stalwart, close to Buradam as well. You've got Alpha 7 on their northern side. Slap bang in the center, it's the remaining duo from Alter Egos, but as I said, they are a duo. They are only 2 remaining. With the Wolves close by, I'm sure they're going to fear the moon as it comes to Wax.
Stalwart down towards their south side. Nova also in that position. Now look at Nova. Defending champions right now, 13 points, 12th place. I really don't think that they expected this kind of opposition coming into the finals. I really do think that they were potentially looking at 4am, looking at Birju, maybe influence Kemin, but we've got so many different faces here up towards that top side, and Nova really hasn't been able to catch up too much. Again, Nova is this team that suddenly out of nowhere starts popping off, and again, we see it on the screen right now versus Birju.
Landing the shots, but both of those reses are being stuck right now. So hopefully Birju can get both of their downed players back to feet and stay up as 4. They will be able to do that. Trot on they will into the game. Kengzo on the back, looking to just heal up. Sky only as well. Wants to replenish that health bar. It will slow them down. Fortunately for them, they're very, very central in this circle, so they can afford a lot of time to be invested to keep themselves at strength. DRS, not so lucky. They have to push in and behind Vampire.
It's going to be a difficult push here. Vampire, though, I think this is a team that would like to step up a little bit already. DRS takes shots. Stoned, very unwilling to allow this kind of push to come through. Right now, they're in a really tough spot at the moment. It's a good position on the map in terms of being able to take these fights with teams stuck on the western side, but it's not a place you want to remain for very long. Already you can see Fireflux have eyes down towards their position. They're going to have to move soon. 4am also were holding on that roadside, but looks like they're going to move further towards that eastern edge. Alter Ego stealing Gatka, and they will now share it with 4am.
Crash comes through to bring the remaining duo from 4am into the fold, playing 3-on-1 with an off-angle split in the compound, in the buildings, against the standoff south of them. Pretty powerful, all things considered. Skutsiow is split from the rest of the squad. Wolves, bottom of the tables right now. 2 points total when you include the elimination they've got this game so far. And in Gatka, they will find themselves locking horns with 4am and Alter Ego. The team that, if they take down Alter Ego, they might be able to leapfrog them fairly fast as well.
I mean, for Wolves, it's really not been a great start to the day, but with 4 players here, a strong spot towards Gatka, you will have to face off against 4am, who are looking to maybe this game get ahead of Inco, sit themselves in second place. Be very, very nice there for 33 Svan and the rest of his team. Being able to recreate this core around him. Field this fantastic team on 4am.
Vampire moving forwards, find a building that they were looking for. It's a really strong compound, that one, given the circle, given the lay of it. A lot of oversight for Vampire to be able to hold here on the fields around them, but unfortunately Fireflux have other ideas. Stoned gets lined up on, and the crosshairs will snipe him down. Luckily they are in the building and can get a little bit more of a foothold here. Unfortunately though, Schweppes is there and will be spotted. That's Geek Fam to be chiming into the engagement from further into the circle. Sure, they might have a lot of sightlines away from them, but there's a lot of sightlines towards them and people are taking advantage of that.
Yeah, for Vampire right now, this is all about just restabilizing. There's not really many teams that can take a full-on push towards their position, so this is the main thing. This keeps Vampire in safety for a little bit longer. They can pull the cape around them, stay elusive and out of the way. And then for a team like DRS, who's most likely going to have to move soon, in the position that Vampire currently hold, they have great oversight over towards any kind of push over the fielded area. So Vampire, it doesn't necessarily keep them in this next circle, but what it does do is allow them to clear effectively. Getting to this position, though, was risky, was dangerous, but they pulled it off.
Starting to tick on up on the health bars as well. For Vampire, Nova want to skirt around to the northern side. 3 players alive for them, with Paraboy going down. The claimant of their only elimination so far in this game. Stoned again, getting spotted, getting taken down, but once more they can regroup around it and try and keep themselves as 4. The team from Thailand wants to stay alive as long as possible. 11th place right now, their countrymen Birju 6th place overall, currently with a lead of 12 points over their counterparts.
S2G on that northeast side, can't forget about them just yet. Still have a good chance to send themselves flying up towards the top side of the lobby. Alpha 7 though, that momentum still going. looking to take the battering ram as it swings back and open up this game, open up the gates towards another chicken dinner here. 0 eliminations, so been very patient so far, getting ready for that combo hit that we talked about earlier from Alpha 7. Don't want to pull the trigger too early for them. So much space towards the center of the circle, just not taken up, purely because of the horrid terrain in this area. There's still some hillside, some staging around on the north side, the east side, south side, and west side, but the closer we get towards the center of this map, the more hectic this game is going to become.
Once people are inside that circle, it will become a lot more playable, but as long as people are on the outside, as you said, with those high ground positions, it's going to be really, really tricky. Speaking of outside positions, DRS, they've been behind Vampire for so long.
So important.
And that was a beautiful knock for Ravenclaw to slow down any aggression. The nade over towards Stone is going to keep them low and keep them on the back foot. And Ravenclaw, hang on a minute, they turn that around in just 1 split second. And Delta stays alive for DRS. I thought that was all done for DRS, but no. They get exactly what they're looking for. They will sweep aside Vampire ahead of them and have a shot towards the center, but there's not really too many places for them to go. Birju tried to make the push up towards the north and actually successfully managed to sneak on through a little bit of a gap there.
Vampire Esports, I think they made the right call, right? I think last time they got bombarded out when the smokes came through, then the nades over the top. So this time around, instead of sitting still, they all stand up, try and push the players with nades in their hands. It's very important.
Wolves still holding on to their position in the compound. Fireflux moving into the foothills underneath the S2G northern side area. Dangerous position for Fireflux. Those smokes that they're dropping right now, absolutely crucial to suppress any shots or to cut off any sightlines from teams like Nova, from Influence Kemen as well, but that's not going to stop the nades pouring on through. DRS, they're rocking up into the back of Wolves over in Gatka itself as the shots and the pouring in of players comes through. Pickfeet able to handle the first. The DBS around the side though, barks. And the Wolves feel the bite of it, unfortunately. DRS will go no further. They had a good engagement over on that western side, but 3 teams in Gatka, it's always going to be too tough.
Still getting that far is almost a miracle in and of itself. I think for DRS to hold on, it was a real struggle at that point in time, and the fingers were really straining on the edge of the cliff there. Influence came in. Still have some players though. This might be their game. They send in Fireflux, Solus, 1 down. Fireflux down to just 2 players. And Solkay's looking to push this one far.
Silas from Turkey able to do for 1 onto Solkay there. Nice little knock around the side of the rock, instantly flushed out as well. But there's the answer. A lineup and a knockdown over on towards Influence Kemen. As S2G and Fireflux both suffering the pressure felt by the rest of the lobby from the Brazilian sides. Nades over the top. And Influence Kemen looking very, very healthy here. All 4 of them up and active. S2G not so lucky.
Looking to pull out the broom here. Sweep the guys from S2G. And S2G is immediately retreated to a bit of more of a defensive position where they can turtle up, hopefully restabilize, push back against the guys from Influence Kemen. 4AM do have sightlines towards them. And we will head further towards the center of the circle. I said it was nasty. I said it was cruel. It certainly is. For all these teams over in Gatka, though, leaving is the worst part of this game.
Alter Egos trying to stay alive for as long as possible. Only the 1 player now remains for them. Alpha 7, eastern side. Nades over the top towards Geek Fam. Micah, low. Knocked, flushed, will fall, and Geek Fam are down to 2. Wolves are continuing to move through this compound, but the stairs prove too difficult for them to summit. Pickfeet goes down first, and they need to stick this res. Now towards the top side of things, they have Beautiful and Remember, who are pushing WWX up those stairs continuously. The DBS around the corner, and that is a really heads-up little hop out and a hop in, as well as WWX wants even more from the top rope. The turnbuckle is slamming them down. Finally, they put a stop to the chaos, but the damage is done. Wolves are slowed down. 5 eliminations, sure, but can they keep it going from the position that they hold? There is so much more to handle, and 4AM they do go down.
I mean, there's a hop out there, and Nova looks like they picked up that final player. Goodness me, you can see just how good 4AM is.
They will not go any further, unfortunately. The top of those tables looking to be a little bit firmer now. Pick feet, nades over the top. Out into the fields, potentially over towards Geek Fam, but out for 7. 4 players alive, looking very healthy on the southeast side. If they can dispatch Stalwart, they are in a prime position for this next circle. But Stalwart not the easiest to deal with, unfortunately for them. Order picks up one. King with the Bison as well over onto Pick Feet. King does get shot down towards them as well. Jimmy and Order now the last 2 for Nova, but they are slowing the Wolves down enough to make this exit hard. Really, really tough indeed for the Wolves. Order with the AKM iron sights. Loose in shots from the grass.
There's really one only important fight here between Alpha 7 and Stalwart. The 2 remaining 4-player teams. Whoever wins this fight will most likely win the game. Wolves, though, do finally go down. Geek Fam, 4 eliminations, 2 players left alive. Still going strong. We talked about at the beginning of this game. Definitely not out of the mix yet.
Stalwart still with their challenge at their doorstep. Shots over towards Mythic behind the ridge line from Action, but not really getting too much more than that. Repositions coming through from Alpha 7. A lot of damage done actually to the health bars here, and there's the off angle, a third party, and an aid over the top from top is going to slam down straight onto Mythic. An answer from Mafioso. The Molotov slows any aggression to move across the way. Mafioso wants to suppress the back as well. He's dealing with threats on 2 fronts now as Alpha 7 can influence this fight, but Influence Kemen have their own say in things. As Lil Boy makes it tough. Makes it really, really tough indeed for Alpha 7 to stay alive into this one. Carrillo needs to hold there, but cannot do the job. 1 player now alive. It's Revo for Alpha 7. Further on into the circle with a position to hold. Wants to just stay alive and open the gap against Inco as much as possible. But Influence Kemen, they want to join their teammates from Brazil up towards the top.
Revo, complete clutch player as well in this lobby, so wouldn't count him out just yet. Influence Kemen really dominated control from that northern side. Wanted to continue to put down the damage. Order from Nova. Another powerhouse in their own right. Birju with Sky only. Got a lot of these individual players who are extremely good left remaining in this final circle. What a cool finish here on our angle.
Stalwart. 4 players alive here from Mongolia. IHC kind of stole the limelight from them a little bit, but God like Stalwart are playing pretty well here. Unfortunately, they did just take a knock, and they are kind of cornered somewhat towards the blue zone, and a tough run they'll have ahead of them. Birju eliminated 7th place. Order still going for Nova. Powerful solo, like you were talking about, a Stalwart mount up for their push towards Revo, the last player for top team Alpha 7. Pika leads forwards. No nades in the back pocket for Revo, only 2 smokes to be spoken of, but will be able to open up for 1, maybe even look for a flush. It'd be brilliant to see more from him. And a knock over towards Action. Stalwart coming apart of the seams here. They all are going to fall down, crumbling under the purview of Revo. A clutch player indeed, Blank. Influence Kemen, though, with the center of this circle.
Yeah, never count out Revo. This is the guy that really took them all the way. But at this point in time, stage 8, it's going to be difficult to stay alive any much longer. Still, 4 teams remaining. Very good possibility now to get a little bit further. 5 eliminations so far for Geek Fam. But only 2 players left. The difficulty for S2G and Revo, there's absolutely no recompense for either of them. They're down, it's done.
You've got to think this is Influence Kemen's game to lose. 6 eliminations on the cards with 4 more to gain. They can potentially get a 25-point game here, Blank, if they get everything left in the lobby. A really solid result that would be. Would see them nice and tidy up the tables. Sort of middle of the pack right now. So they want to keep things as tight as they can. Lil Boy looks for one of Geek, and will be able to get the flush as well. Revo with shots over towards one of the remaining player, but that's taken away by Law. So 2 of those eliminations already picked up now by Influence Kevin. Alpha 7 with Revo, S2G with Hamzy, the only 2 people who can stop Influence Kevin taking the chicken.
It's going to be really difficult for Hamzy G and Revo, but both very, very strong players. From S2G and Alpha 7, they have to work together now. It's the only way. Revo's already taking damage with the loot crate. He has a lot more room to play with here. Influence Kemin, they have to stand on either side.
Oh.
Revo's down. Hamzy G's life just become very, very difficult now.
However, he is up in second place for S2G, and with Influence Kemin on 3, 10 eliminations right around the corner. That is that 25-point game that they will be looking for here. A very, very solid result, but Hamzy G, he's got that DP. If he gets a cheeky little angle, gets a pick, there is potential here for things to go pear-shaped for Influence Kemin, but you got to hope that they won't.
I think for Influence Kemin versus Revo there, it is very difficult for them to lose that. But Revo is such a good player, they have to make all the right calls. They subdue Hamzy G on that side, send 2 players out wide so they can refrag off one another, and then send 1 player to finish the job on the edge. So I think no matter what happened to Revo there, this is something that Influence Kemin's always been very, very good at, and that is teamwork and working on the fly to make that kind of teamwork happen. And a quick bird's eye view here to just check exactly what's going on. Again, you got Little Boy in the back, very covered at the moment. Law, as well as Kariovsky up front, ready to refrag off one another, and Little Boy's kind of that insurance, just trying to spot by jumping. This is what makes a 3v1 almost impossible to lose. The way they've set this up, yeah, I don't think that we're going to see anything but Influence Kemin chicken dinner, and you can see exactly why this is one of the best teams to come out from South America.
Maybe not on the table right now, but Influence Kemin are a force, and they will be reckoning with everybody else in the lobby on Erangel this time around. Match number 4 goes the way of, again, a Brazilian team. Blank, that's 3 in a row that Brazil have been able to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really changing too much, is it? I mean, Brazil is really crushing the leaderboards today, which is not something we expected, but something that maybe was cooking in the pot backstage throughout the entirety of this year. As we see more and more teams from South America, from Turkey, from all these new types of regions and regions that we've been with for a long time, suddenly finding just the right core, the right team, the right additions, the right players. And again, as James Yang was saying, they had 600,000 plus signups towards PMCO. You can imagine the amount of players that do just get sifted through, get sent through the old blender, honestly. Yeah. And there's just so much new talent and absolutely fantastic players to pick from now. I think anywhere in the world has the chance to have a world championship team.
Absolutely, and at the moment, a lot of power being seen from Brazil, but we have seen glimmers from a lot of other regions. I think the big surprise for me is that the Chinese teams haven't been as powerful as maybe we would have expected, coming from a region that has for a long time, well, first of all, holds the defending champions.
Give them time.
Yeah, exactly.
Give them time.
Maybe we just have to give them a little bit of time, but with Brazil, as powerful as they are, laying that rail track in front of them as they go, do they have that time to play with? Only time itself will tell.
Do Brazil. It does not stop, and it doesn't seem to stop anytime soon either. Honestly, this is sensational from Brazil, not from any team specifically, but from all the teams. Influence Kemin picking up 24 wins. 24 very important points as well. Did I say wins 24 points? Is obviously what I meant. 24 very important points in the context of the overall ranking, which we're going to see later. And also Alpha 7 in third place, picking up 15. And there is one team in the midst of this, which is S2G. And looking at the Elims, that is a storyline that we might...
I was talking about it earlier before this match, and they kind of showcasing it here perfectly. This team has been consistent in regards to their placement, but their eliminations are just too low if they want to be able to contend for that first place at the end of day 3. If they want to go for that championship. And to be fair, I mean, little boy, 3 Elims, 928 damage. You can see Revo as well, lots from Fireflux. Something I do want to point out, and something that we were kind of talking about there during that game, is that now every Brazilian team has a win, Max.
The storyline writes itself, right? You don't even have to say anything at this point. It's just so dominant. You got yourself, Vitaly was looking so strong at the start of the day. Now it's just every single one of them got himself a win. It's just absolutely fantastic to see that unfold. And from Influence coming in particular, that third party on the northern side was great, but you're looking a lot more orange than you were earlier.
That's what happens when Alpha 7 continues to perform this way. I had to represent for